Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Martine, and if you are new here, I do videos on Vedic astrology mainly, but also with some tropical insights, and I focus on both relationship and natal astrology. And if you like this video and you would like to hear more content from me, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell to see when I will post a new video. And also, if you're interested in a personal consultation, I do consultations on a wide variety of topics. You can check out the video description. I will leave my contact information there. And also, I have a tarot channel, which I have started a lot more recently than this channel. And I will also be linking that channel in the video description as well as in the pinned comment. So if you're interested in tarot, go ahead, check it out. Maybe subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. So today's video is going to be on a topic that I did say that I was going to talk about, and it's about earthquakes and the patterns that I've seen with respect to earthquakes. And I'm going to be looking at 4 major examples. Actually, one of them is not an earthquake, but it does pertain to earth activity, like specifically, it's a volcano. The volcano that erupted in Spain, in the Canaries, in 2021, I think in La Palma, or Las Palmas. Is it La Palma? I think it's La Palma. Somewhere near there. And yeah, so it erupted in late September. It lasted for about 3 months. Now, I am going to start by telling you the general things that I have noticed. I will start by saying that these are not very specific. So this is just basically some observations that I have noticed. So I don't think that this can be used exactly to predict with great degree of accuracy when an earthquake might happen. Because they're not very specific with respect to timeline, because they are only by noticing the transit of Rahu. And since Rahu is a pretty slow moving point, it spends a long time in one sign. I would probably have to do more research, or maybe some of you might notice some patterns in these charts that I'm about to show. So if you do, please share. Any ideas that you might have would be greatly welcomed. But I don't think it's possible to pinpoint the exact day when something like this is going to happen. Because I have only looked at Rahu. And like I said, so Rahu is going to be in one sign for several months, maybe even a year. And yeah, but I have seen a connection between Rahu and certain houses. And I have looked at not so much overall configurations as I have looked at the charts of the countries in question, the countries that were affected. And so I'm just going to get straight to the point. The main thing that I noticed is, I actually thought about this. At first, I just wanted to see the connection between, I looked at Turkey and Syria, and I wanted to see potentially some connection to Rahu. Now, why is Rahu the number one suspect? Because Rahu, as you may know, it does rule unpredictability, unpredictable events, basically. And you would expect Rahu to be connected to anything that is very sudden and traumatic and basically turns things upside down. It's also a co-ruler of Aquarius, which is a fixed sign. And fixed signs in general, when they produce change, it's usually cataclysmic proportions, because these are the signs that actually resist change the most. So I don't know exactly how to articulate how I see this energy, but that's how I see it. It's basically think about moving a mountain, or tsunami, something like that. This is when the fixed energies get moving, it's something very traumatic. It's a break, basically, because these energies are normally don't want to change. So they will resist anything that tries to move them, right? So Rahu is connected to that fixed energy because it is a co-ruler of a fixed sign. And then it's also generally linked to anything to do with unpredictability. Technically, Rahu is also especially connected to thunderstorms, so that would be interesting to see actually connections to, thunder and like, I don't know, maybe tornadoes and stuff. I'm sure that there might be some connections there, but it would be hard to even collect information about those things extensively. In any case, let me not digress. So I thought about looking to see what Rahu was doing in these horoscopes, and what I picked on was a connection to the 12th house, and in the horoscopes of these countries. And you might think, at first I was like, okay, why the 12th house? Technically speaking, the 12th house is everything that is unseen. In the horoscope of a person, the 12th house is the subconscious, or the superconscious, or basically, everything that is in a person that is hidden, right? Hidden affairs. This is also why the 12th house is the house of bed pleasures, right? Because this is where you see secret liaisons, right? In a person's life, the 12th house, or the tendency for some people to be having extramarital affairs. If they have a very active 12th house, especially involving Venus and Mars, this person likes to have a lot of affairs. And so the 12th house, in quite simply put, is everything that is underneath, right? The surface of a person. Now, when you translate the meaning to a country, what exactly is underneath a country? Of course, you could take it to just mean the collective subconscious. That's another way to look at it. Sure, it might have to do with that. But also, as a physical correspondence, it could literally be the underground, right? Because if you think about the first house in a person's horoscope, that symbolizes not just your sense of self and how you define yourself and how other people see you, but it also literally represents your physical body, right? So you would, if you translate it to a country, the first house would be the actual territory of a country. And the 12th house is what's right underneath that. Now, also, what I have seen in some of these instances is in every of these instances, you have activations also of the 4th house and the 8th house. I would, again, when I started looking at these charts, I thought I would see some 8th house connection, because again, the 8th house is about painful transformations. This is another fixed energy, right? 8th house in general is about transformations, but it's basically, I would say the 8th house is most commonly connected to the Tower card or the Death card in tarot, for instance, if you're familiar with tarot. Basically a Tower card, right? So that's like an event that turns your life upside down. And some major transformation. Also why the 8th house is linked to longevity and death, right? And so I would have expected the 8th house to be connected as well. And you're going to see in the examples that there are connections. One way or another, there are connections. Also, the 4th house, because the 4th house, again, links to the actual physical territory of a country. Because, the 4th house is, the land of your ancestors, your heritage, your history, right? As a country, again, it links to the actual territory. Because, the home, right? The home base, right? Also, 4th house is real estate. So, and usually when you have an earthquake or any kind of, massive natural disaster, you have a huge affliction of real estate, right? So, this is the general themes. These are the general themes. Now, let me look at the actual example. So, let me start with Turkey. So, I've actually set the date. So, the earthquake, the biggest one, was on the 6th of February this year. And now, this was interesting because you actually have Ketu here, but since Ketu is opposite Rahu, technically it's also aspected by Rahu. Now, what am I talking about here? If you look at the chart, which I will be showing on the screen, you see that the 12th house is in Taurus. First of all, you already have Mars going through the 12th house, so that may have contributed, because Mars is already kind of an aggressive sort of energy. But I don't think that's enough, right? So you have Mars going through the 12th house, so the green planets are the transits. And then you have Rahu going through Aries. And Rahu is directly opposite that cluster of planets in the 5th house, with Venus, the Sun, Saturn, and Mercury. And what you see here is basically Rahu is opposite the rulers of the 12th, the 4th, the 8th houses. Also, there's another one. Yeah, the 3rd as well. So it actually even aspects the ruler of the natal Rahu as well. Maybe that also contributes. But mainly what I want to see here is the fact that all of these houses are being activated. So you have the 12th house, which I think could pertain to the underground activity of a territory. And you have the 4th house, the house of heritage, real estate, and then you have the 8th house being involved as well. And you also see the sun going through the 8th house as a transit. Again, maybe that also had something to do with it. I'm not 100% sure. But I would say Rahu has to be involved because that is about sudden breaks. Actually Ketu is about loss. So the fact that Ketu is also sitting with these planets, that in itself already could also be influencing both of them, maybe Rahu and Ketu together operating. But again, my best bet would be on Rahu being the biggest influence. All right, so this is with Turkey. Let's look at Syria. All right, same thing here. So you have Rahu going through the 11th house. You have here Mars is also going through the 12th house, and it's aspecting Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn is ruling the 8th house as well, so maybe Mars has something to do with it as well. Jupiter is ruling the 10th and the 7th, not particularly relevant. But Rahu is transiting over Mars. Mars, ruler of the 6th and the... Let me see. Yeah, the 6th and the 11th. Okay, I don't think this is particularly relevant either. But the main thing, again, is that Rahu is opposite Venus. In other words, Ketu is conjunct Venus. And you have Venus ruling the 12th house. So in this case, you have a little bit of involvement of the 8th house because the ruler of the 8th house is being conjunct Mars. That could also have something to do with it. But the main aspect, again, is Rahu aspecting the 12th house lord, which I think, again, could correspond to the underground. Of course, I can't prove this, but just based on my intuition. Now, another example that I looked at Spain, again, with La Palma. Let me check. Oh gosh, which one is it? Right, finally I found the chart. Okay, so it was 2021, on the 19th of September, but I put the date, it actually lasted for about 3 months until it quieted down. That's not really particularly important, but again, if you look at the horoscope, what do you see, right? If you look at, again, the green placements are the transits, and you have the 12th house is a Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is in the 5th house. Rahu is conjunct Jupiter by transit. Let me see. Trying to look for other potential connections, but I don't think so. Rahu is aspecting Saturn. Right, but this is actually another thing that I wanted to mention about this is that this happened when Rahu was going through Kritika. And I think I also mentioned this in another video. So Kritika is about fire, and it's also going through Taurus, right? The Taurus side of Kritika. This is about fire, and it's about connection to volcanoes, right? This is when the volcano erupted. But again, it's about the underground, right? It's because what if activity that is happening underground. So it makes sense that there is a 12th house connection, but I don't really see a 4th or 8th house connection here. So correct me if I'm wrong here. Except what you do see is the ruler of the 8th house, the sun, is aspecting the ruler of the ascendant, which is Saturn. Again, that could be a connection because, again, the first house is the actual geographical location on the surface. So it's like it was a time of the underground erupting. That could be, but again, it could be a stretch to look at it. However, with the 4th house, I'm not really seeing a very strong connection. Let me see. Oh, actually, wait. Oh, wait, the 4th house as well is connected because you have the ruler of the 4th house, which is Mars, by transit, is also going over the ruler of the ascendant. So it's all very, very interesting here. So to some extent, again, you do have both of these being activated. And I think in this case, you can clearly see that the 12th house is particularly activated because not only do you have the ruler of the 12th house conjunct Rahu, but the ruler of the 12th house, well, no, it's all in there. It's in the conjunction. Yeah, but it's very strongly activated. And you do have mild activations of the 4th and the 8th houses as well. Okay, so this is Spain. Now, I want to look at New Zealand. New Zealand had this huge earthquake in 2016. It was a 7.8, I think. And again, 2016, I set the date. So if you look at the horoscope, Rahu is going through the 4th house. All right, so here it's not a very strong connection exactly to the Lord of the 12th house, but what you have instead is Rahu aspecting all of these houses because Rahu is in the 4th, it's aspecting the 8th house by 5th aspect, it's aspecting the 12th house by 9th aspect. And let me check. And not only that, but Rahu is aspecting. Actually, wait. Rahu is also aspecting the Lord of the 12th house, which is Mars, right? So the 12th house falls in Aries. Mars is in the 8th house, and Rahu is aspecting Mars by 5th aspect. So you also have a particularly strong 12th house activation here. This is pretty much it. I was trying to see if there are other connections as well. But in this case, it's kind of like already just by Rahu going through the 4th, it aspects all these houses, like the 8th and the 12th house, like I said. So this is pretty much what I can see. Now, granted, I don't know if about predicting potential earthquakes. First of all, there are countries that don't have their charts very well defined. They don't have any time of creation, or there are different disputes. Even with Spain, I had to check because there are multiple debates about when the country was actually instituted. So, yeah, but I think this is really interesting because of the symbolisms, like I mentioned. So, the 12th house being the underground, 4th house being the landscape and real estate. And, literally when you think about it, I mean, major earthquakes disrupt people's houses and cars and stuff. So, because the 4th house is the 4th house is the actual, home, right? It's like your physical home, your foundation, physically found your foundation. So it would make sense that these houses are connected. And also, like I said, 8th house is about massive traumatic changes and transformations. And Rahu already on its own is a very disruptive force. So yeah, this is pretty much what I wanted to say. So, I mean, I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think? What other thoughts you might have? Maybe you are going to spot patterns that I haven't seen in these charts. I would be really curious. In any case, please comment in the comment section. And once again, if you have liked this video and you would like to hear more content from me, please like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell to see when I will post a new video. And also, if you're interested in a personal consultation in astrology or tarot, because I do tarot readings as well, you can check out the video description and I will leave my contact information there. You can email me for a pricing list and further details. So, thank you, and I hope to see you at my next video. Hello again. I was just about to start editing the video, but then I realized that there is this other gigantic earthquake in history. There was a huge earthquake there that I remember reading about in Portugal in 1755. So I looked up the chart and I did the chart again with the transits for the date of this massive earthquake that was followed by a tsunami and basically devastated a huge portion of the landscape of Portugal. And guess what? Again, there is a contact between Rahu. Well, again, there's a stronger contact with Ketu, actually, and the Lord of the 12th house. So if you look at the chart, which I will be putting on the screen, the 12th house is in Cancer. So it's funny here because, tsunami, and you have Cancer and the moon. So, I mean, again, maybe I'm stretching it too much, a little bit too much. But in any case, the 12th house connection is there because you have the ruler is the moon, and you see transiting Rahu was actually going through the 1st house. So that's the actual landscape of the country, right? And it's also aspecting the 12th house Lord, which is the moon. But also it's actually conjunct Ketu when you think about it. So, but because it's an opposition from Rahu, both Ketu and Rahu are aspecting. And I, again, would tend to point the finger at Rahu because Rahu is the troublemaker, really. And also since, let me see. Yeah, so you do have this connection. However, oh, and another thing you see potentially is the sun going over the ruler of the 4th house. You have sun conjunct by transit with natal Mars. And wow, not just that, but actually Rahu is again also aspecting the 8th house Lord, because the 8th house is ruled by Jupiter, and Moon and Jupiter are conjunct here in the natal chart. So transiting Rahu is opposite the Lord of the 12th and the 8th houses while going through the 1st house. So basically all of the landscape houses are being activated, almost all of them. The 4th house is not strongly activated. I mean, you do have Mercury going through the 4th house, but I don't really see a strong connection here between Mercury and anything cataclysmic. However, I think it's really, really on point here that you had a tsunami and an earthquake, and you have the 12th house and the first house involved and the 8th house, and you have the moon involved as well, the natal moon. Right, so this is pretty much what I wanted to add. So yes, once again, I hope that you have enjoyed this, and don't forget to like, subscribe, click on the notifications bell if you want to see when I post a new video, and if you're interested in a personal consultation, you can check out the video description. I will leave my contact information there. And also, I do tarot, and I have a tarot channel. You can check out the video description or the pinned comment for more information on my tarot channel. So, thank you.